Happy lunch hour, guys. All right. You remember back in the 70s and 80s, the peak of the Cold War there, or getting near the end, I'd say the 60s was probably the peak. But remember the video we saw on the news or whatever? Everybody in Eastern Europe was all head down, glum faces. Everything was gray and dingy and dirty, and nobody had anything. And we heard all the stories about if you had a pair of blue jeans, and went over to Russia, they'd, give their firstborn for it, which, by the way, Mrs. P said, yeah, blue jeans were like the ultimate status symbol. Yeah, that's communism, guys. And that's coming, whether we like it or not, because the people that have been put into power by whatever means you want to say, okay, that's the direction they're taking us. Now go back to the 60s and 70s and and 80s. Think about Nikita Khrushchev. Think about Leonid Brezhnev. Think about Mikhail Gorbachev, okay? They all dressed very nicely. They all lived in palaces, for the most part, what you and I'd consider a palace for sure, okay? The people, not so much. Okay. And I know everybody says, yeah, but communism fell, blah, 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 blah. It's not like that anymore, okay? And then you look at Europe, and Europe has wholly embraced socialism. Joe Biden and the Bernie Sanders wing of the Democrat Party, which is basically the controlling part of the party now, are doing their damnedest to drive us into socialism, communism as well. Okay, whether it's equity, whether it's green policies, whatever. Okay, I want to read you some of the headlines from this morning. Okay, I'm not going back days. I'm going back today. All right, let's look at some of these. Bundesbank sees German economic turmoil worsening all winter amid natural gas rationing. Switzerland's environment minister suggests people shower together to save energy. No offense, but I kind of like taking a shower alone. Okay. Sweden shocks market with 100 basis point rate hike, full percentage point, as it rushes to hit its terminal rate. Europe's economy and living standards are plummeting. Majority of Hungarian gas stations to run dry next week. EU seeks sweeping new crisis powers to secure critical supply chains. Amazon suspends construction of new warehouses in Spain as consumption boom falters. Germany and Europe's self-inflicted upcoming energy crunch. French warned of winter blackouts. Need I say more? I mean, what was that? 7, 8 different headlines from today about consumption, about manufacturing. I mean, we could go again and talk about the UK, where now they're saying 60% of businesses, all businesses, not just pubs and restaurants, are at risk of shutting down because they have no power. Germany is already saying that they're going to significantly reduce or close altogether industrial plants for lack of power. They're also talking about, amongst Europe-wide, 70% of the fertilizer production is toast for next year. Like 25% of the aluminum and steel production is being stopped. Okay, you start thinking about these. These are things we need. Okay, we need fertilizer to grow food. We need steel and aluminum to build things like, I don't know, cars, buildings, pipelines, whatever it would be. Think about anything that's made out of metal. Oh, gee, we want to stop fossil fuels. Hey, dumbass, What do you think plastic's made out of? Here's a challenge for you. You want to do a TikTok challenge? Try to go through one day, try to go through 1 hour without using anything that contains plastic. Good luck. I mean, it's everything in your life. I mean, very, very, very little is not made of plastic or metal. Think about it. Unless you're out in the woods carving your own spoon and carving your own bowl, everything else, you want to cook breakfast? Hey, that pan that you have is made of metal and plastic. There aren't any other materials. Those are the two, okay? Unless it's cast iron, then it's just metal. But this is what's coming. This is what the socialist revolution is leading us to. No business, which means no jobs, which means no money. To buy things that, because of socialism, you can't afford anyway, like heat, electricity, and food. Who needs that? Okay. This is what these globalist policies are leading us to. And every one of these nut jobs who's going, green energy, we've got to stop fossil fuels and all this sort of stuff. Let me give you this. France generates 70% of their electricity from nuclear. Okay? Nuclear is a clean energy, let's just say that, okay? And before anybody goes off on the safety of it, let's tell me about how many nuclear accidents we've had in, say, the last 30 years, then how many pipeline spills, Exxon Valdez or something like that. Let's talk about some of those, all right? And I know somebody go, well, you don't have any problems with solar energy. You don't have any energy either, but that's beside the point. I hate to tell you this. Living is dangerous to your health, period, okay? You are more likely to get killed driving to Walmart than you are in a nuclear accident. Just saying, okay? But you do that every day anyway. This is where we're heading. This is what you and me have to prepare for, that this is coming. And this is why every single one of us, those of us that have channels, those of us that don't have channels, are screaming from the rooftops to get yourself ready, whether with a heat source, with an electricity source, with anything you need to survive. I'm not talking about live. I'm talking about survive, to make it through. You will make it, 3 hours without heat? I think Danny on Deep South Homestead did his porch time this morning and was talking about hypothermia and things like that. He's right, all right? And I'm not going to rehash the whole thing. Go watch Danny's video. But this is what is going on. And everything in Europe, I know there's going to be people out there, the non-believers, which have a tendency to run into the channel every, oh, it's Europe, it won't happen here. Who the hell do you think is going to bail out Europe? All right, we're already shipping oil to Europe. We're shipping oil to China, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Okay, where do you think Europe's going to ask for LNG, liquid natural gas, from? Us. Okay, what's that going to do? That's going to drive our supplies down and our prices up. Yes, guys, this is typical. All right. Everybody comes to the United States and says, help us, we're totally incompetent, we screwed up our country, come save us. Don't believe me? Look at the Marshall Plan after World War II. Hell, look at what Ukraine is already saying. We need $5 million or $5 billion a day from the West to rebuild Ukraine after this is over? Why the hell is it our responsibility? I don't care, okay? Not my problem. My problem is within a 300 by 400 feet area. That's my problem. That's what I got to concern about. I got to concern myself with how the lady upstairs eats, how 2 dogs eat, how I eat, and how I keep us warm and safe. That's what I'm concerned about. Somebody 8,000 miles away, not my problem. Europe, you want to go completely socialist? Go for it. Don't ask me for help. Joe, No, we aren't. We're not in any position to help the rest of the world. We need to help us. Screw this letting everybody come here. I'll give you this one, okay? Europe has a immigration problem. There have been 10 million Ukrainians that have fled Ukraine. 7 million of them have not gone back. Now, I wouldn't want to go back in the middle of a war either. But guess what? Those other European countries have to pay for these people because they don't have jobs. They don't have places to live. So what do? They go knock on the door and say, "Hi, Mr. Government, I'm here. What can you give me?" And they go, "We're a socialist utopia. We'll give you whatever you need at the expense of all the people who were actually working for it." Okay. This is how insane this is getting. And if you don't think this is coming here, you are flat out wrong. Okay? We are going to have the same situation hit us probably sometime next year with all the same problems. No fertilizer coming from Europe means there's no fertilizer here, guys. I hate to tell you where we get most of it. Okay? It comes from Europe. Okay? You have a oil problem? Gee, what's going to happen? You think the Saudis and the Iranians are going to go, "Oh, out of the goodness of our hearts, we'll pump more to keep the prices down for you." Right. Because that's always worked out so well. Let's go back to 1979 and see what happened then with, what the Arab nations did, what OPEC did. Okay. We can screw them. This is how this country is being run into the ground. You have all these liberals bitching about Trump, DeSantis, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Greg Abbott, Doug Ducey, Lauren Boebert, Kristi Noem, bitching about them all. Oh my God, this Make America Great Again. They're terrorists. What happens when we change that from MAGA to MAEA and it's Make America Eat Again? I mean, that's where we're heading. Or MAWA, Make America Warm Again. We are at the precipice of utter world collapse. Europe is probably too far gone. Even the Russians came out the other day and said that we're going to have the rest of Europe on their knees, kissing our feet. Russia, at this point, is basically going, "We got them by the balls. We're just taking over Europe." And you know what? Fine. If the people in Europe, the governments, are that stupid, let Russia have them. I don't care. If the people want to fight back, I'll support them. Okay? But the governments are just going to be like, "Hey, roll on over. Klaus Schwab." Okay? First off, who the hell gave the World Economic Forum any authority anyway? Okay. And why the hell does anybody listen to them? Oh, because it's their ego. That's all it is. You can come talk to us. You'll be an insider. We have lavish parties in some of the most beautiful places in the world. You'll be one of us. Right. Okay. Until you're no longer necessary. It's kind of like what I said before about the billionaire in a bunker who hires a bunch of Navy SEALs to be his security. And what happens when the Navy SEALs go, "What the hell do we need this guy for anymore?" It's the same thing with the World Economic Forum. What the hell do we need them for? The hell do we need any of these liberals for? We don't. We need to make America first. That's it. Okay? Or if you're in Great Britain, make Great Britain first. Or if you're in France, make France first. Okay? I'm sorry. You have an identity. You have customs. You have a culture. Protect it. You always hear the stories about the ugly American, the Europeans bitching about Americans. They don't want to be Americans. I don't want to be European. Okay? Simple as that. I want to be an American. I don't want to drink tea at 2:00 in the afternoon. I don't want to have a cigarette down in my fingers like this, wearing a little beanie on my head and a striped shirt. Okay? Sorry. That ain't me. You don't want to be me. I don't want to be you. I respect the fact that you are you and you live the way you want. I'm going to demand you respect the way I live and the way I want, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let any fat bald bastard from Germany make any decisions about how I'm going to live, or any incompetent diaper wearing, pudding eating moron in Washington do the same damn thing. These headlines are exactly what is going on, what is coming, and why you're prepping. Okay? Because all those people in Germany, Italy, France, Britain, Spain, Romania, Hungary, whatever you mean, who aren't prepped are going to have one hell of a winter. And when the body count starts climbing, there's only one place to blame, and that's the capital of every one of those countries for taking on these socialist moronic ideas. It's time this stops, guys. We have to stand up and raise hell, all right? And this is not, we're past any niceties, okay? And I'm certainly not calling for violence. Do not even read into that. But we need to fight fire with fire. If these liberals are going to scream bloody murder from the top of the stairs going, we need to do solar, we need to tell them, you, and no, we don't, all right? And to use Maxine Waters' comment, we need to get in their face and shut them up. They're a bunch of pussies anyway. They'll back down quick. I'm sorry. I'm pissed. Reading all of this and watching the world and my country collapse all at once because of idiots who think they're better than me never will fly in this guy's life. Pinball out.